Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of MYOG, Make or Modify Your Own Gear. And today, we are going to be adding electronic ignition to this stove I got at a garage sale. But before we get too deep into everything, I want to show you a similar stove that already has this, to give you an idea of where we're going to be going. This is a Coleman model CM5448 camp stove, and it's already got the igniter in it. It comes like this, but this is a more expensive stove, and it comes with a griddle top as well. When you open it up and you look here, we have our burners and we have this electrode in a porcelain sleeve. So when you, let me see, I can get this on camera. So when you hit the igniter, you see that spark? And you get the spark at either end. So this is what we want to do for our modification on the other stove. But I want to take this apart to show you how Coleman has done it, and then show you how we're going to do it without adding a lot of weight to our current stove. So for this part of the MYOG, you're going to need a pair of snap ring pliers. Like this right here. This is snap ring pliers, and you do need that to get this apart. So the first step is to take these burners, turn them counterclockwise. They might be a little stiff if they've not been apart in a long time, and they unscrew just like that. Okay, so we got the burners out of there. And right here, I'll zoom in so you can see that, on these style of stoves, there is a snap ring right here, and that holds this whole base plate on. And if you come in here with the pliers, how am I going to do this around the camera? Let's do the other side. There we go. If you come in with these pliers, you get each tip into each hole, squeeze it, push down on this, and they shimmy right off, just like that. Repeat for the other side. When you have the rings removed, you'll be able to lift this whole plate out, but you're not going to be able to go too far because of these wires. So what you can do is you can unplug them from the igniter here. Just give them a little pull. There's a plug there. And give it a little pull, and there's a plug there, and this will lift out just like that. Okay, we're going to set that aside. So we have our igniter right here. I need a screwdriver to remove this heat shield to show you what I'm talking about. So I have this heat shield removed right here with just two little screws, and the way they got these wires coming out, this is the positive of the igniter and this is the negative, and the negative is hooked up to a wire that goes underneath this heat shield, comes out over here and hooks up on that burner. The positive goes underneath here, comes out right here, and hooks to that electrode for this burner. And what happens when you hit that is it sends that energy down through here, and its contact on this base plate completes the circuit. So you have the energy go here, 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 and jumps clear across to here and back around to the negative. Without those contacts, this will not work properly. But we are going to modify the other stove. We're not going to add a big heat shield like this because there is no heat shield in that stove. But we are going to insulate the wires and provide a small heat shield for our part that we're putting in there. So let me get this back together and we'll get to the other stove. Here's the other stove. I've got the burners and the snap rings off. And when you lift that off, you can see in this model there's no heat shield down here at all. So when we add our igniter, we are going to shield the wires in an improvised way that I think will work real well. So let's get down to everything you're going to need to do this MYOG. Tools. You're going to need a drill with bits and step bits, files, pliers, tin snips or aviation snips, scissors, wire cutters, and snap ring pliers. Supplies. Big thing, you're going to need a grill igniter with igniter electrodes. I'll show you which one I got here in a minute. Aluminum flashing, you can get that at Home Depot. Thermal felt. Foil tape, that's HVA foil tape. Assorted nuts and bolts, sheet metal screws, and so on and so forth. So the first thing I want to do, let me show you the kit. Whoops. Sorry about that. Let me show you the kit I found online. You got 2 barbecue style igniters and 2 electrodes and some grounding wire. We're not going to need the grounding wire. And it's funny, this kit I ordered is no longer available on Amazon. I will post similar kits on there. One of the things I decided to get for this, because I didn't have any in my supplies, was these gold-plated female electrical connectors, because these are the right size to fit on the ground tab right here. Those will fit on there. Okay? Now, when we insulate the wires, I'm going to use thermal felt and the tape. You could use a commercial product like this DEI heat sheath. It's basically aluminized fiberglass. It's a tube that you can cut, run your wires through there, it'll protect them. I'm going to return this. This was rather expensive because I have a bunch of bits and pieces of this thermal felt, which I know works really good, and this foil tape. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to put the igniter right here just like on the other Coleman stove. So I'm going to remove this label and find a new home for it. So for right now, I'm just going to stick that up there out of the way. So I have a pilot hole drilled right here, and I'm going to use my step drill, this drill, to get the diameter of our igniter hole. So let me get that done. I'll be right back. So I got the hole drilled here for the igniter, and it fits nice and snug. Not too big, not too small, just right. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and use the mounting ring that came with that. We're just going to temporarily mount this in here. This is so we can figure out how long our wires need to be. As you can see, we have more than enough wire, so we're going to cut it down. Now, the connectors that they give you with this are the round type connectors for the positive end of the electrode. We're going to have to recover one of these because this wire right here is going to be really short. It's going to be like maybe that long, tops. And the other one is going to be cut down. I have the correct connectors to go on here, the negative. So let me get that figured out right now. So I've drilled the holes, and I've got the igniter electrodes mounted with a sheet metal screw. But I've run into a problem. The backside of these is so long, it's hitting the bottom here. So when I go to push these down to put the rings, snap rings back in, watch this electrode right here. I'm going to zoom in on it. You'll see it's bottoming out. See it move up? And I'm not, there it is, moving up. So I got to figure out a way to trim some of that porcelain off the back without cutting the wire. So let me figure that out and I'll be right back. So what I ended up coming up with is I used a rotary tool with a diamond cutoff wheel. And I was able to score the porcelain. I don't know if that's showing up on camera. You can see the score line, and it's actually poking through in spots around there. And now, take some pliers. One pair of pliers to hold it still. Other pair to try to break that off without breaking it. There we go. So now, okay, now I tried to slide these off. I did this one over here and then jacketed it, but it will not slide back, so I got to break this. Just like that. And as you see, we'll expose some bare wire here. One thing to note, when you're scoring this porcelain with a diamond wheel, the dust that comes off there is not good for you to breathe at all. Do this outside in the wind, preferably upwind to where this dust is taken away from you, so you don't breathe it in, and or wear the appropriate mask. Okay, so we got that cut. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this heat shrink tubing on here, all the way down, over that porcelain, and we're going to shrink it up just like I did the other one. Here we go. So I got this line right here cut to length, and I stripped the jacket back to expose the wire. Now the piece of wire I cut off has that round tubular connection. I was able to lightly score the coating on here and pull it off to expose it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an awl like this to try to open that up so I can get it off so I can reuse it. Which is sometimes easier said than done on stuff like this. So I finally got it open. There it is. Now we're going to put it onto this wire here. Not my best crimp, but it's solid on there. So I'm going to put some heat shrink tubing over this to dress it up. There we go. Ooh, that's hot. We'll let that cool, and then we're going to cut the other one to length and use one of those other connectors. So we have our wires here, and I finished this one. And basically I have thermal felt here, and I've wrapped it with that aluminum foil HVA tape. And if you look closely, so basically this comes over and I wrap this. So you have a layer of thermal felt, a layer of this foil tape. That's going to protect the wire from any radiant heat over the lifetime of the stove. I'm going to finish wrapping this one. We're going to assemble it and give it a try and see how it works out. So I got all the wires hooked up, and I thought I had the camera running, but of course it wasn't. So these electrodes were straight up, and all I did was hold them at the base here with a pair of needle nose pliers, use another pair of pliers to bend them over, pointing at the burners. You can see we got a good arc there. And we got a good arc there. We're going to use our aviation snips here, and we're cutting this aluminum flashing that I got from Home Depot. This piece was all of 65 cents to make a heat shield for our igniter right here. Okay, we're going to use this piece. Now this flashing is a little bit thicker than an aluminum soft drink can. You could use an aluminum soft drink can too, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to form this like that, drill a hole, and have this like right over this. Maybe even put another hole here like the other one for the wiring to run through. So we got our heat shield done here. This is how it will mount up inside. So our one line will come through here and plug into the positive, and we'll have our negative, so the other line will come around here and plug in. Sorry, I keep going off camera. So it'll be like this and like this. Alright, let's get it installed and see how this looks. The nice thing about using this flashing is it's really soft. You know, thinking about it, looking back, I could have used a beer can or a soda can for this as well. So if you didn't want to go to Home Depot, you could save yourself a little bit of money. I think we can do it just like that. Something like that. Give you kind of a side view of how the wires go around the heat shield there. So there's our positive coming in, plugging into the back, our negative plugging into the side here. So now I'm going to put the rest of this back together, which is the opposite of taking it apart. So I have the stove completely reassembled. I made sure to adjust the electrodes to where the arc is landing on as much of the burner as possible. We have a bottle of propane loaded up, so let's give this a go. Now, when you open a valve, you need to open it pretty wide and hit it with the arc, and it'll light. And look at that. So now we have full control. Open it wide, hit it, it'll come on. Open it wide, hit it, and it comes on. Look at that. And you can go up full open or bring this down to a light simmer, just like you normally would. But no matches, no lighter. because now we have an igniter. Ain't that nice? Alright, I hope you found this useful, and I hope if you have an older Coleman stove or any model like this that you want to add an igniter to, that it gives you a bit of a guide on how to do that. Alright, thank you for watching, and everybody have a wonderful night.